Well, listeners, we've got some news today that's a little bit sad and a little bit happy, I guess, is the best way to look at it. First of all, You Me at Six are coming to Australia for a tour that we are all looking forward to, of course. But unfortunately, this is part of their farewell tour because the band have announced that they are parting ways after 20 years. But we get one last hurrah of these guys coming to Australia in January. So we thought we would actually get Josh from You Me at Six on the phone right now to chat about this tour. Josh, welcome to the show.
How's it going? You alright?
I'm going really, really well. Now, Josh, as I said, there'll be people out there that are both happy and sad at this news, but I was wondering if you could start off by telling us a little bit about how you feel about coming back to Australia for one last time.
Well, look, making people happy and sad both at the same time has kind of been indicative of You Me at Six's mission statement over the last 20 years, so I guess that's kind of telling. But, you know, look, we're really excited to come back to Australia. For me, it's always been quite a seminal part of this band's lifespan, really. And it's just a magical place for us. So, you know, I'll be just as excited as I was 14 years ago when I first got on a plane over there. Show's always awesome. And it wouldn't really be right to not, you know, come back down under. So, yeah, very excited. And like you touched on at the top end of the conversation, like, I understand the kind of the conflicting feelings that some people may have with it, being like happy we're coming, but also like kind of pissed off that we're doing what we're doing. But, you know, I think it's the best way of saying goodbye in these sort of situations if you can do it in the right spirit and you can do it on your terms, on your own terms. And I feel like we've been put in a position where we're fortunate enough to do that. So we're taking it. And yeah, it's going to be a great celebration. And, you know, it's just going to be a whole kind of overview of the band's career and back catalogue. And yeah, it's going to be well worth it.
I was going to ask that to you. It's not often in these days and times that a band gets to make this decision on their own terms. How much does that mean to you, being able to make that decision as a band and not having it forced on you by a label or by outside forces?
Well, I think, you know, also for the most part, yes, that is a play out where it can be like label driven or management driven or whatever. But for the most part, bands stop because people stop caring about that band. So it's like, you know, our biggest, I guess, hunch has always been, when does that happen? And how do we kind of slip out the back door before it does? And we've been waiting for a long time. People stop caring and people continue to care. So we were like, right, if you're not going to do it for us, we'll do it for ourselves. But no, all kind of like pissing around aside, like for us, it's about, you know, I think it's really important as an artist, you never phone it in. If you've moved past that part of your life, or you can see that there's other things you want to go and do, or you want to be taking better care of like your own personal life and dedicate more time to that. Like we're a very committed group. So it's like when we say we're going to do something and we commit to one another, it's like it has to be 100%. And I just think that you know, maybe we've got to a crossroads where some of us want different things. The priorities are slightly different. And the best way before anything playing out publicly or going awry is like taking care of your own and understanding that that's all good and nothing lasts forever, really. So yeah, for us it's a celebration. It's like, how lucky are we that we get to go and play these shows, we get to go and play to our fans and say goodbye kind of in the spirit that we've always done things, which is been about us going out and grafting and doing our thing. So we're very, very excited. And yeah, of course, it's kind of like there's some trepidation around it, like what comes next? Who am I without this thing? this incredible family community that has kind of been the centerpiece of our five's lives for the last 20 years. But I think that's a good thing to have in life, is to have stuff shaken up a little bit, to be kind of confronted with, okay, well, what happens next? Only you can kind of bring that to the surface. So, although there's definitely some sadness attached to it all, because I love performing. I love our fans first and foremost. I love the fact that we've had an impact and been able to infiltrate, be part of people's lives for this amount of time, and kind of soundtrack their formative years as people, and maybe their relationships or friendships. Like, to play any part in that is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I'll miss that, and I'll miss that connection. But at the same time, like, no one's died. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's so much to be grateful for here, and there's an opportunity, as I said, to do it on our own terms. And I'm sure that someone like myself, like, I'll be part of music in some capacity. So, and I guess also, closing a chapter now kind of gives us an opportunity, if and when there's ever a point in the future where we want to even talk about being creative, maybe not under You Me at Six, but if, being together, then we have that, because there's no fallout here. There's so many of my favourite bands have broken up. There's a big fallout. It's public, or like, shit, you start going to their shows and you can see that it's not the same band. It's not the band that is playing with everything, and or it just, what I mean? Like, sometimes you see shit play out, you're like, this is sad to watch.
Yep.
And I feel like we've got an opportunity for people not to remember us as one of them, and to remember us as, like, that was one of my favourite bands. They always kicked it, and there's something to be said about, like, when, as a fan of music, when you're giving yourself to an artist and then they kind of throw it in your face, or they turn their back on what has always been at the core of what got you into them in the first place, or just them as people. You're like, they're cool people, I want to see them win, because they're not, they're not taking the piss, and they're kind of respecting my input to them as a band. It's like, I never want people to have any sort of feeling about You Me at Six as not being their band. And so, as I said, it's, like, really important to just recognise when a chapter has to close, for, I don't want to say the legacy, but for the story to be full of the heart and, like, I don't know, the DNA of what made You Me at Six special. Then it's almost like a necessity to honour that and take care of it, because it is sacred. And it's like, there's so many, as I said, so many examples of bands that have maybe just sort of, like, gone through the motions, or force one another to do this thing because it works for them as an individual.
Yep.
You Me at Six has always been about the collective, and I think, again, that's something that's resonated with our fans. Like, they know it's the same 5 people for 20 years in a world where so many bands have rotating members, or public fallout, or whatever. It's like, fuck that. It was always about us 5, and us 5 against the world, if you like. And I think that's the way we're carrying it out. It's like us 5 doing it because we love it, for a final year touring. Amazing. It's a beautiful ending to a pretty incredible story that we've had, in our lives. So, feeling good about it in that sense.
Exactly. Josh, I hope this is not a too personal question, but when do you start thinking about what you want to do with your life after the band? It's something that I went through about 10 years ago when a television show that I was involved with finished up. And again, like you said, it was on our own terms, but you still had that moment of thinking, what am I going to do next? When do you start thinking about that, or is that something you've already started thinking about?
It's a great question, bro. But, like, I mean, there's stuff that I'm part of and working on, which I feel, I've said this from the jump, because, like, I feel it would almost be, hang on, they're coming for me. The 5-0 finally found me. No, sorry, I've turned that car going right. I'm walking a beautiful beaches of Brighton, so it's a bit hustly and bustly.
That's all right.
The sun is out for the people who are out, so apologies. But yeah, I feel like it would be a disservice to Yumi for me to like use like opportunities like this as a platform to talk about what my next project is, what I'm doing. But there's no doubt in my mind that I'll be being creative. I have been creative for the last sort of 6 months, putting stuff together, and I'm not worried about what's next, because it's kind of like, for me, it's always been that thing of, you know, what you put in, you'll take away from it. And everything I do, there's also been periods in my life where I've maybe missed or dropped the ball, because, you know, fuck it, we're all human, right? But like, for the most part, if I care about something enough and I respect it enough and I give everything I've got, then at least I can walk away from something going, well, I'm getting, you know, it was authentic, it was real. So I feel like with anything I do next musically, or anything that's sort of creative, it will be done with that purpose and that sort of spirit. So, and if you don't see me doing stuff, you know that I realised that music wasn't what I wanted to do. So, but for right now, you know, everything's good. I know there's a lot of talk in our band about people wanting to go travelling. You know, some of us are getting married, so kind of moving into a new part of our lives, which is really, really exciting. Yeah. You know, and at the end of the day, we got to live out our teenage years and all of our 20s doing the most incredible thing, like a proper little gang, going around the world, getting up to all sorts of mischief and like being dickheads, but also just, you know, just doing the thing we love, the thing that we thought was completely impossible when we first started it, became almost like an absolute. You know, it felt like every year when it struck 12 on December 31st, I already knew what the whole next year of my life looked like. Yep. So of course there's some uncertainty and trepidation around like, shit, what happens next? Like, not having that plan. But I think that's important in life. I don't think you can just have that stuff always planned out for you. So, and coasting. So, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm sure what everyone does, if it's public facing, it'll be great. So, yeah.
Now, I know we are running out of time very, very quickly, but I had 2 quick questions. First of all, how the hell do you put together a set list when you know that it's going to be your final tour of a country, especially when you've got 20 years of music to choose from? How do you put that set list together?
Yeah, it's a good question, to be honest with you. But, I mean, I think, you know, we've always taken the stance that we're the 5 biggest music fans in the world. So, like, we feel that we have a good rhetoric, if you like, of what we think people will want to see. And for me, I've discussed it at length with the lads. Like, for me, these shows aren't about me and what I want from it. Like, it's about the community and making sure that it's like a communal sing-along is basically what I want. I want people to come out for a night and, you know, live out the stages of this band in full voice and be able to just fucking let loose. Yeah. You know, and I think you do that by not turning up and playing the B-sides and the album songs that no one wants. I think you go through the back catalogue and you earmark the songs that really were, from all of the albums, were the kind of the big moments, and then you pick up, you know, we know the ones that our fans want to hear in terms of like the slow song that wasn't necessarily a single but was like the song on the album, you know, like. Yeah. So we're going to try and just make sure that it's a very sort of well-rounded representation of the band's back catalogue. Is the mountain we're about to climb. Trying to figure that all out, but yeah, that'll be a good one.
Awesome. Well, mate, I can't wait. But to finish off, what would you like to say to all of your Aussie fans out there on the back of this announcement of this amazing tour in January next year?
Fuck. I've not been asked something like that yet. Thank you it just doesn't really even begin to hit the note on it. Just it's just been really, really wild and life affirming being able to come to the other side of the world and always feel, without sounding corny, like home. And it's just always, some of the best times I've had in this band have happened in Australia. Some of the most incredible experiences, being on stage, off it, you know, and that's because of the people that were there, you know, the people that made it. And yeah, I feel very fortunate, and thank you for having us in your headphones, you know, for the last 20 years. And I hope that those of you that come to the shows have a great time. Hopefully that we get to bump into you on the street or in the bars or wherever we'll be out and about. And yeah, it's gonna be great. So yeah, that's probably